Brilliant! The Last Prophecy by Jonathan Lopez. Chapter 3. The planets of the solar system helped each other. Only in this way was it possible to face the growing threat, because if they attacked individually, they would be defeated with great ease, as each one was very weak from the previous wars. After achieving several victories and tipping the balance in their favor, the planets of the solar system, now called the Solar Union, had another important meeting. This time, it would be to gather the warriors who would represent each planet for a counterattack. Each leader of the Solar Union had the difficult task of assigning a warrior to lead the battlefront. Eikus, the great leader, was aboard his gigantic ship when one of his soldiers approached to give him the report on the attacks. When he learned that this galaxy had done something that even the other conquered galaxies hadn't even thought of, Eikus became very excited because the alliance of the Solar Union proposed a very interesting war. But the great Eikus already had everything very well calculated. The attacks he had sent were just the beginning of the Great War. Like in a game of chess, pawns go first. Eikus had only sent a few ships to test how prepared the inhabitants of this galaxy were. It was then that he ordered a new attack, but this time much more powerful, with soldiers of higher rank, until his secret weapon arrived, coming through the same wormhole. This secret ship consisted of another interstellar vessel, not as large as the first, nor with the same designs. This second ship, the great leader Eikus had ordered to be built for the purpose of absorbing the energy that fuels each galaxy. After absorbing all the energy from the last conquered galaxy, its new objective was to head towards the solar system. The captain of the second ship was Crew, a great scientist and childhood friend of Eikus. Once in the solar system, he immediately received orders to start his objective. He positioned himself near the sun and began to absorb the ultraviolet rays emitted by the sun. This ship was designed with gigantic panels capable of absorbing all types of energy until it was completely drained. The energy absorbed powered the other ships, meaning solar energy was like fuel for their ships. Crew had found a gold mine with respect to the sun because it was pure, fresh energy, and there was enough to power all their ships. The sun was full of energy because it was a new galaxy, but this ship was designed to absorb every last bit of it. Meanwhile, the inhabitants of the solar system had put their differences aside to focus on the new threat. They prepared all their arsenal, gathered the best scientists to locate the origin of these attacks, and thus locate the main ship of the invaders. They also built sophisticated weapons and suits for the assigned soldiers. Each leader showcased the best of their bombs. Earth presented an advanced version of the atomic bomb, which they further developed together. Once the enemy's mothership was located, which was a few million kilometers from Earth, they were amazed at the immensity of the interstellar vessel. They knew what was coming was not easy, rather almost impossible. Then, each leader of each planet had chosen their representative warrior for the attack strategy. It was then that each of the assigned soldiers met. Mercury, Okiri Jupiter, Tok Venus, Enkik, Saturn, Poiki Earth, Jerk Neptune, Zayuk, Mars, Mweek Uranus, Kruku. Chapter 5. Solar Union. Then the great leader Eikus gave the order to initiate the new attack against the Solar Union. Thousands and thousands of ships began to take off from the mothership towards each of the planets. The collision of weapons began. The first attacks took place on each of the planets, where a fierce battle was fought between millions of soldiers. Explosions erupted everywhere. Although initially the Solar Union resisted the attacks, all the planets were weakened by previous wars, which meant a huge disadvantage. The invasion came right in the middle of an internal war between planets, in addition to the invaders' preparation for conquest. Even so, the Solar Union fought with all its might because they did not want to submit to slavery. If they lost this war, it would mean the end of everything, and they were not willing to surrender without a fight. Battles were fought in every corner of each planet. At first, there were millions of casualties on both sides. When it seemed that the situation was stabilizing, weapons and ammunition were running out for the Solar Union. Soldiers tried to use the weapons of the fallen to resist the enemy's attack. Days of nonstop battles had passed, and several cities had fallen. Chaos reigned on every planet. The great Eikus's next strategy was ready. The second ship had already begun to absorb much of the sun's energy, causing negative effects on each planet. There were drastic climate changes because the sun no longer shone with the same intensity as before. All its energy went to Crew's ship. Everything was getting worse for the Solar Union. They almost had no energy to continue the battle. It was then that the great Eikus descended from his ship to lead the front lines. He landed on Mars with his best soldiers and in a few days managed to conquer the planet. He headed to the next planet, Earth, where a new battle began. However, what he did not know was that on Earth were the 8 chosen ones, ready to face him. The great leader Eikus felt confident and went to Earth with few soldiers and without his commanders, believing himself invincible. However, he encountered a great rival. In the midst of the battle, the 8 chosen ones faced Eikus, and they barely managed to wound him, cutting off his arm. With no choice, he gave the order for an immediate retreat. He quickly boarded his ship and took refuge in the mothership. While he healed his wounds, he ordered an all-out attack on the Solar Union. Meanwhile, in the second ship, Crew was about to finish his mission because there was little energy left for the sun to absorb. Eikus once again ordered the attack, directing all his ships to each of the planets. But before that, the 8 chosen ones, after achieving an important victory against the leader, had their scientists' plans ready. Each of the scientists revealed one of the most powerful and explosive weapons they possessed. Earth presented an updated version of the atomic bomb, and so did each planet with its nuclear bombs. They loaded all the bombs onto the fastest ship they had, along with the 8 chosen ones, headed for the mothership where Eikus was located. While the chosen one's ship traveled to its destination, chaos continued in the Solar Union, as Eikus, enraged, had already ordered the destruction of everything. War after war unfolded in the solar system. They were almost out of strength to continue, in addition to the climatic effects that further hindered their battle.